I'm just showing the rear brakes on a 1996 Toyota Corolla AE102 model, or series rather. It's a Seeker liftback, but I think these are fairly common through that whole series. It's being a rear brake, it's obviously the one with the 4 disc brakes, not the some do have the drums on the back. Right, now it wasn't such an issue with doing these. One tricky bit which you'll see mentioned in other posts is the fact that these have a piston in the caliper that actually screws back in, and not being aware of that, because I haven't owned one of these before, I had to turn it back in using a pair of needle nose pliers, and as you'll see other people mention, the trick with that is to apply pressure inwards or away from you towards the middle of the car at the same time that you're turning, and to make that easier, crack the bleed screw, or the bleed valve here, the same thing you used for bleeding the brakes. What I did was actually connect like a little, I just made up my own little one-man bleeding kit here, and just attached a bit of hose to it, and so it just goes in there. Now you can see this car was allegedly regularly serviced, and that is the colour. I haven't put anything in that. That's actually the colour of the brake fluid that came out of it. Now, you know, there are mechanics who should be just ashamed of themselves, who are charging people to and saying they're fine, and that sort of rubbish is in the braking system. Now, I'm a long way from being an expert, but I taught myself how to bleed brakes, and using a single man system or person system, if once again being politically correct. And it's a very simple process. You need a plastic bottle and a bit of the correct size tube for the little nipples on the car. Now, getting back to the original problem I had, you'll notice on here, and which I saw, let me get you a bit of background there, you can see that on the left hand side it's quite thin, it's only a couple of millimeters. On the right hand side you've got at least double the thickness. Now that's the old pad. Now that's a Bendix pad. It's done quite well. It's probably been in there for many years, and I wondered why it was uneven. Now when I put the new pads in, which I'm using Bosch pads, but they're I don't mind Bosch products. Excuse me, I'll just move here. Now you're looking here at the outer pad. I've already assembled it. Now I had a great deal of difficulty on the other side of the car, because if you can imagine this, on the inside you've got your little squeal indicators here, because on the other end of that it goes past, it's probably easier to show you on here, people understand these. You can see there that the piece of metal, the shiny metal there, goes past the actual body of the disc of the actual pad, and once that touches the rotor it squeals, and you know that you've probably got virtually no actual pad material left. Now what I realised on the other side was that I couldn't close the caliper after I changed it, and so I messed around and I put the old one back in, and it took a long time to work it out. But in the end I put it in, and then I got a screwdriver and actually pushed the little squeal, the brake pad indicator away from where it was sitting, and it actually fit into place. And I thought, well, that's fine, the other side will be the same. Now everything went beautifully. It would have been a 10-minute job turned into probably a 4-hour job, because I just could not work out how to close the caliper on this side. And then when I examined the actual caliper closely, I found that the caliper actually had a bit missing off it. Now the only way I can imagine that happened, because it coincides with where it was actually hitting the side of this. So when that was in position on the other side, which would have been roughly in that sort of position, it was coming down and actually striking the side of the pad indicator. And for the life of me, I couldn't work it out. And then I realised that this bit was actually broken off not off the pad, off the actual caliper, off this bit here. Now that's not good. So at some stage, I'm going to have to actually buy a new one of these, or find a decent second-hand one. And the only thing I can think is that somebody has put these on, and they are the correct pads for this vehicle, and instead of trying to work out how to get round it, they've actually bashed it until it's actually gone into place, and they've actually chipped a bit off the caliper. Now that's not good. I had to presume it was someone. I actually know the people who sold me this car, and it's not something I would imagine they would have done themselves. And just very careless. Now anyway, what I worked out, well, the only way to do it is I actually cut for the inner pad. I cut the squeal indicator off, and just cut it flush, and it just went in. Now, why that happens, or why it won't fit, is a mystery to me. I just don't know why, because I can never recall coming across one that didn't fit before. But anyway, so that's the simplest way. The one on the outside's still there, so you still have your indicator to check it. But I suppose generally people, every couple of years, people may have a look at them and have a quick look to see whether they're all right, or when they get their tyres changed. And so anyway, I cut that off, and it's all fine. It all slots together very well. So if you do have a problem with the caliper not going back in, so you can't put the retaining bolt back in, just have a look at where. Just get under the car, have a look, and see if it's actually striking the depth indicator, or the squeal thing, whatever you want to call it, and just have a look and see if it's hitting that. And if it comes down to it, it's not a particularly vital part of of how the car works. So just cut it off and see if that solves your problem. All right, thank you.